also say, like, as a member and a steward of the CSD and of taxpayer dollars, like we're all committed in trying to mitigate any of the expenses that we can to maximize revenue. Like obviously, since you will see me here at least once a year with this presentation, as long as I'm with the CSD. That my commitment to you all, as well as to my board of directors, is that we want to be good partners. So,
thank you, and I'll just wrap it up. That excellent presentation, and I think you see full acknowledgement that we understand why we've seen those rise in costs, and I know my teammates here have full faith in both of you on how we can cut costs and areas of improvement. So I'm going to defer to the experts here and let you come back to us and let us know how we can help. Like I said, we're here to be supportive, but the numbers are the numbers, and the costs go up just like they have for everybody else. So that's just the reality of things. But thank you again for this presentation. All right. I will move on to our next item, 9.2.
Let's consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into letters of intent with Mutual Housing California and Abode Communities for the development of city-owned sites in Old Town and Sheldon Farms North, respectively.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm Sarah Bontrager, your Housing and Public Services Manager. As Jason said, tonight we'll be talking about letters of intent for 2 potential affordable housing developments. You may remember that we have an affordable housing fund that's generated primarily by fees on new development, and we use it mostly to provide gap funding for affordable multifamily projects. We are currently funding the Lila project, which is under construction along Bruceville Road near Bighorn. There are other projects moving forward without city funding, but we know that more investment is needed in this area. We have shifted our focus for the Affordable Housing Fund a bit. We once ran a first come, first serve program and then changed it to an RFP where developers selected the land. Our current focus is more on acquiring land that we think would be suitable for affordable housing and which might provide some other benefits to the community. We have looked for land on which we can do innovative project types, and you'll see that one of the sites here, we are looking at a more transit-oriented project. We currently own 4 sites, but tonight we'll be talking about 2 of those sites. The first one of which is a site in Old Town. The city acquired about 2 acres of property at Elk Grove Boulevard and Webb Street in 2021. That property is zoned for high-density residential development, and we acquired it with the purpose of ultimately partnering with someone to build affordable housing. When we looked at what to put there, we really felt that senior affordable housing would be the best fit for that site, and it was a high priority for our team that the design be in line with the Old Town aesthetic and the historical character of that area. The second site that we're talking about tonight is our Sheldon Farms North site. This is a site that the developer of the single-family home subdivision to the east there offered the city in lieu of paying their affordable housing fee on those single-family homes. So we entered into an agreement on that in 2021 and actually took possession of it in 2023. It's about a 5-acre site, also zoned for high-density residential. And our vision for that site was really more focused on family affordable housing, and it will be along the future light rail line, the Blue Line extension. And so we wanted to offer something that was more transit focused to help us build the case that the light rail should come down to Elk Grove. We also own the parcel to the south of the creek there at Bighorn and Bruceville, and that will be the subject of a future design process and RFP. So in order to find developer partners for these 2 sites, we did a request for proposals process. We worked initially with Cascadia Partners, which is a design firm out of Portland, and they did some work with exploratory models for us, doing some financial analysis, and really reaching out to a lot of the developers, community, and stakeholders on these sites. And then they ultimately helped us to prepare and to advertise an RFP, which was due in June of last year. We had estimated about $9 million, including the land value, we already own the land, would be available. We got an incredible number of responses to this. I would have been happy with 4 responses per site. I would have been thrilled. We got 11 proposals for the Old Town site and 12 proposals for the Sheldon Farms North site. So these were very popular sites. A lot of folks were interested in partnering with us. And we had a mix of very local developers, folks who work statewide, and some developers who work nationally in the affordable housing arena. The RFP allowed developers to propose on both sites, but made clear that they would only be selected for one of the sites. So we would not choose the same developer to do both sites. In evaluating it, we looked at the developer's history, developing affordable housing, what experience they had operating that housing. We looked at how closely they were aligned with the city's vision for the site, and how they would approach partnership with the city. Because this is, the city wants to be very involved in the process. These are sites we acquired for specific purposes, and we want that design control, or share that vision anyway. We looked at financial capacity. How often has the developer won funds? How often have they come back and asked for more funding on their projects? How quickly are they able to move in developing their projects? And then for the Sheldon Farms North site, we looked at whether the developer included the affordable housing and sustainable communities funding in their financial plan, in hopes that we can expand the number of funding sources that are used to fund the projects and decrease the amount of city funding that's needed on them. So once we received the proposals, we did an initial review of them, and staff selected 4 developers to interview for the Old Town site and 5 for Sheldon Farms North. Our interview panel was comprised of city staff, some outside agency experts from SHRA, from the Capital Area Development Authority, and in the case of the Sheldon Farms North site, we had a community member participate on that panel as well. The interview process really gathered further details on financing, on the developer's plans for community engagement, and on how they planned to approach the design of the project. And the panel was able to come to consensus on recommendations. We took that recommendation to the Affordable Housing Committee in November, and they reviewed the procurement and directed staff to work with Mutual Housing California and Abode Communities on letters of intent. And I'll share a little bit about each of their proposals, and then a representative of each of the development teams is here tonight, and after I finish my presentation, I'll introduce them and they'll do a brief presentation that highlights their project. So for the Old Town site, the recommendation was to partner with Mutual Housing, which proposed 89 units of senior housing in one 3-story building, which would have an elevator. Some strengths of that proposal: Mutual Housing has been around and built a lot in the Sacramento region. They have worked with their team, their proposed architect, Mogavero, and their general contractor successfully in the past. They do in-house resident services. A lot of our affordable housing developers look to outside entities to provide resident services, but Mutual Housing is solidly in-house, and their services are really strong. They had a great financial plan we hoped would result in a faster timeline, but we do want to make sure that we aren't shortening the opportunities for public engagement and pushing the project along too quickly. So we do anticipate a lot of community engagement from them. They had a very reasonable cost and frankly a really good track record of community engagement. They were able to give some very solid examples of times that they had changed projects in relation to community feedback. We did want to work with them more, along with our community stakeholders, to further refine the site design. And we've had one preliminary meeting with CSD Fire and our planning department to look at some options there, and plan to really get the community engagement underway after you all hopefully approve the LOI tonight. On the Sheldon Farms North site, the recommendation was to partner with Abode Communities. They proposed a 240-unit family project comprised of 7 buildings, which varied in density from 4 stories along Bruceville on down to 2 stories bordering the single-family homes there to help integrate with the site. We really liked their overall design. They had a very good focus on natural elements, on a nice facade, and the transition to the single-family neighborhood. Their architect team had 2 folks with Elk Grove roots, including one who graduated from one of the Elk Grove high schools that I'm not remembering right now. And they are very excited and passionate about coming back to work in the community. They had the highest unit count of all the proposals that we received, so getting the most bang for our buck, and a good pre- and post-build community engagement strategy. They also had some really well thought out financing, which we've already looked at a couple of times. Funding sources are always changing, and they've been able to adapt as the funding source opportunities have changed. We are very fortunate the site, when we released the proposals, was not in a high resource area, but for 2024, it is in a high resource area. So that expands our ability to secure some funding. So we would like to work with them on further refining their site design, especially related to the parking and getting as much activation along Bruceville as possible. So what we are proposing is a letter of intent strategy that's a little bit different than what we've done on previous affordable housing loans, where we've done a loan commitment and a lengthy loan term sheet. The letter of intent is really something that's more open. We're looking to work with the developer to reach consensus on a site design that we both can support. We will consider later in the process a loan commitment, but this letter of intent is not a loan commitment, and it's not a guarantee that the city would transfer the land to the developer. It does give them an exclusive right, though, to work with us on developing the site, which lends a level of comfort to them in spending the money that's needed to get to entitlement plans and pursue funding. So the LOI does go over high-level project details, how many units, what affordability they are, some basic financial terms, and most specifically, some timing and milestones so that we can make sure that these projects keep moving forward. We do have the ability to terminate the LOIs at any time, but if we don't have a cause to do that, then we are on the hook for the developer's expenses incurred in doing those entitlement plans and community outreach. So our recommendation is to authorize the city manager to enter into the LOIs with mutual housing for the Old Town site and abode communities for the Sheldon Farms North site. And if that's approved, then our next step would be to really start the public engagement process, working with resident groups in each area and the developer to get feedback on what they're hoping to see with the project. That information will play into the entitlement plan submittals, and then we would kind of concurrently do a conveyance agreement, which would explain how exactly and when the land would be transferred to the developer. We would still be able to consider an Affordable Housing Fund loan commitment, and the Affordable Housing Committee would review that as well. And then the developer would move forward with their funding applications. This is all a long process. These projects are not going to go to construction before 2026, probably more likely 2027. But we need to move forward at this point to get that process started. So that is all I've got tonight, and I am happy to take any questions or move to introduce our first developer. You can ask questions.
If you want to introduce the developer, go ahead,
Okay.
and then we're going to hold off on questions until we take public comment.
Okay, great. So first I'd like to invite up Mutual Housing. Danny Colasta from Mutual Housing is here tonight. And I will help Danny bring up his presentation.
All right. Thank you, members of the council, and good evening. I just wanted to say a few words, as this is, I think, Mutual's first opportunity to address the city in person in a public forum. So my name is Danny Colasta. I'm a project manager with Mutual Housing, and I'll be part of the development team that's going to be working on the Old Town Senior site. I'll keep it brief. Mutual Housing, we're a nonprofit affordable housing developer and manager of low-income multifamily communities. It was founded in 1988 in Sacramento with the mission to develop, manage, and support sustainable affordable housing where residents are partners in advancing equitable communities. So we have a long track record of especially doing new construction, multifamily rehabs as of recently. And we really want to center design, sustainability, and professionalism in maintaining and developing our portfolio. And we're happy to bring together highly experienced development, property management, and resident services staff, along with our design partners, who is Mogavero Architects. You may have heard of them. They're a local architect, and they're very experienced in multifamily, especially affordable housing development. We've partnered with them in a few projects in the past in the Sacramento area. And I think they're really excited about this opportunity to bring a little bit more of some urban density and infill to this Old Town site. A little bit more about the project. I think Sarah touched on some things. We're targeting 89 units, and this is a senior housing site, so that means households would be 55 and plus. Affordability ranges from 30% to 70% of the area median income. As she mentioned, it would be 3 stories, and we really like to, through our community engagement process, assess which features and amenities would be best suited for the development, but we definitely want to prioritize, indoor space, outdoor community space, as well as centering the residents with on-site resident staff and supportive services for our residents we provide in-house. So I'll just go through some quick examples. Lavender Courtyard, this is the one we just finished in 2022. This was also with actually Mogavero and their general contractor partner. That was a 4-story, 53-unit project. And here's a project in Visalia that was designed by Mogavero Architects as well as this one off Stockton Boulevard in Sacramento. And just a little bit about community engagement. So Mutual, we also partner with our architect and of course the city as our joint development partners to do community engagement. As Sarah mentioned, we'll have about 2 months here to develop a plan, and then we really want to get towards some robust community engagement. We really want to emphasize establishing, maintaining a shared vision, problem solving, and also clear and transparent communication. And we also want to emphasize that it's going to be an iterative process. We don't just intend to do a one-off community engagement with any one group or architect. We really want to keep those conversations happening here because we know that this kind of community might be a little bit new to the neighborhood and to the city of Elk Grove. So, yeah. So as I mentioned, we'll be undergoing that process here in the next couple of months. And I believe that's it. I just wanted to reiterate our appreciation for being selected by the city and all the city staff that have already started working hard on this development opportunity. And we're really excited to continue to keep the ball rolling. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great. All right, now I will invite up Megan Pearson from Abode Communities, and I'll get her presentation up here.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. We're really excited to be here tonight talking about this incredible site. And I just wanted to say that our CEO had planned to be here. Unfortunately, she had a family emergency, so you got me instead. So really, I just want to introduce Abode Communities and who we are. Our organization just celebrated our 55th anniversary. So we've been doing this for quite a while, and we're pretty proud of our track record and what we've been able to accomplish over that time. We've partnered with a lot of public organizations, cities, school districts, different entities, and we're really proud of those partnerships and the homes that we've been able to provide. So our organization is originally based in Los Angeles, but over about the past 5 to 6 years, we've really spread out over all of California. And then our development team, so Abode Communities is going to be the developer. Our architect will be David Baker Architects, and as Sarah mentioned, they have 2 members of their team with Elk Grove roots and connections, so we're really excited to have them as part of our team and get their really more local input on the design of the development. And our property manager will be John Stewart Company, and our resident service provider is Life Steps. And I just want to say that Abode Communities does have its own in-house property management and resident services that will be overseeing these companies. It's just we're based in Los Angeles, so we're trying to partner with more local people here. All right. This is just a couple images of large-scale urban projects that we have developed, and just really wanted to show you so you can get a feel for the quality, the density, how they fit into the urban fabric. Most of these were public-private partnerships where we partnered with cities or counties to develop them. And, they've turned out to be really great community resources, and they were fun to develop. So for Sheldon Farms North, it's such a great site. It's so exciting to get a site that is flat. I mean, that's probably why so many people responded to the RFP. We're really excited. It's a great site. As Sarah mentioned, it's in a high resource area, and we're just excited for the community that's being built there with the single family homes being relatively new. It's really exciting. And so we're just really looking forward to partnering with the city, partnering with the community, and developing it. And one thing that David Baker Architects is really, I feel really good at, is developing outdoor space that's really meaningful to the residents of the housing development. So that'll be something that we'll really be focusing on, is making sure that we get some good outdoor space. And this is just some precedent images. These are all by David Baker Architects of kind of the things we'll be looking at as we develop the design and as we do our community outreach, kind of the things we'll be talking with the community people. So we'll be talking about the open spaces, promenades, how it connects to other open spaces adjacent to the site. We'll definitely be talking about the amenities, what kind of amenities do people want to see at the site, and really talking about those active edges on the main thoroughfares and how it's going to connect to, Bruceville, how it's going to connect to a single-family neighborhood. So those are the kind of things we'll be focusing on. And just lastly, I just again want to iterate that we're really looking forward to this partnership. We're really excited for this project. And, hopefully you'll approve the LOI, and we're really excited to get started. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I will go ahead and open up the public comment opportunity. We have 2 people signed up, starting with Randy Becker, followed by Jackie Perez.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. A group of us have met with city staff over the last 6 months in regards to the Old Town Senior Project. I won't talk about the design other than to say that there is a need and there is a want. And we're going to cautiously move forward and be extremely involved, as the 5 of you know, as we are in Old Town. And so we look forward to working with staff and the developer through the process. But I would caution those folks and understand where we've been and where we're going, because we're going to make the best design and best project for a senior project, as it's been stated. And if it's going to change, we are going to be highly involved. And I've stated my concerns to staff, especially with what we have just gone through. And we're going to move forward with this very cautiously and open-minded, and hope that we can come up with something that our seniors, including me and some of you, decide you may want to move. And for you, it would be a few years, but by then it could be built, so it could be your future home. No, all kidding aside, all seriousness, we have met with staff and supported the idea. Like I said, it's the idea. So we want to see how the design process goes. And I can tell you up front, I'm going to bring a pink eraser. And that's what's going to be used. And we'll go from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Jackie Perez.
So Randy said he didn't want to speak about the design. I know I keep telling you guys that I feel like, as far as the design, I feel like it's a really good idea to have commercial on the bottom, so that you keep talking about bringing people into town, not just bringing people in to live in town, but bringing things into town where people will be drawn to come into the city and walk around and have fun, and not just bring more people to town, because there's already a lot of traffic on the boulevard that we always talk about. So if this is truly a senior place, I don't know, how many of them drive still, but that's going to be a problem with the traffic. But I would really love to have a place where it looks like Old Town. My shop is over 100 years old, my house that's right next to it. And it's going to look like this compared to this big modern place. So I would really love to have like little coffee places next door and different things that the seniors could all take advantage of, including me. So I just feel like the design is very important in Old Elk Grove, and all the people really do worry me as far as the traffic. So I get really upset because it's been going on for probably like 30 years that Elk Grove has been saying they want to put in more businesses and fun things for family, and all it seems like you guys want to do is build apartments. And I know that there's a need, but I'm not really sure when we're ever going to get the stuff you've been talking about. Not you guys. This was way before you guys were up here. But it's never changed. It's always apartments. So that's just the only thing I want to say. Thank you.
All right, that was our final speaker. I will close the public comment opportunity and open up for questions or comments. I'll start to the right. Councilmember Robles.
I only have one question. How do you feel about balconies? But other than that, I mean, I'll let y'all speak, but I'm ready to make the motion, so.
Well, and I thought of it as well, right? We had and I believe this is a very, very different situation, because we have developers who are willing to work with us, and I think that is absolutely fantastic. That is great. I think there are some things that are really quality of life issues that maybe we had some challenges in different locations in terms of getting light and air, and so just let's make sure that I know you do, Sarah, because that's what you think of, but I think that more towards what you're talking about is we're not terribly interested in monolithic buildings from the past, and so thank you very much for working with us on it, and I can't be soon enough, actually. So thank you, Sarah, and thank you for the work that you and the I know you're on the Affordable Housing Committee, Darren, and who else? Sergio. Thank you for the work on that. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Soon.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, Sarah and the team, appreciate all your work in vetting these 23 applications. My colleague, Councilmember Robles, was referring to you, the Adobe Properties. Your CEO, I think, would understand the reference. It was a little bit of light humor from last time, but I still admire. And it was nice to see the concepts and exhibits again. I'm pleased to hear Mr. Becker and Ms. Perez will be involved. But I like what Mr. Mogovera was proposing conceptually at first, what it could bring, a new type of look to Old Town, one that's more urban, some type of brownstones. I think it would add a nice touch to Old Town. But that's just my opinion, and all this is subjective. So I look forward to Old Town getting involved and hearing what they think, and as well as Adobe as well being involved. I just want to make sure I was saying their company right. The use of space, of outdoor space, I think is really important on that Sheldon North site. So I really like the concepts that were proposed on some other projects you had. I think that was San Francisco, right? Yeah. So it was really nicely done as well. But I appreciate the thought that you put into those projects and look forward to seeing what you guys come up with for this one as well. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank Ms. Bontrager and the representatives for Mutual Housing and Abode to be here tonight to explain the concepts. The Mutual Housing site will be in my district. 89 units, designed for seniors, and so that's always that's good to hear. And given how I had some questions the other day about how the aesthetics physically would look like, how they would mesh in with the Old Town SPA, how it will look on the grand scheme of the strip of Elk Grove Boulevard, especially considering how we're about to enter into a process where we're going to underground our lines. I was very pleased with what I heard, and knowing that the background and the reputations for both organizations, for Mutual Housing and Abode, and their longevity of being in the business speaks a lot of platitudes, because as my other members, colleagues have alluded to, there's been other projects that have come to us, and we had some that promised a lot and delivered halfway. And so just by doing the letter of intent, beginning those discussions, I think that's a very positive thing, especially when you look at the Sheldon Farms North site and how that could play into the bigger scheme of things as we work to bring RT light rail into Elk Grove. That plays that plays a lot into the positives of what that looks like, especially in the face beside a new neighborhood in that Sheldon Farms North area. So that's a very positive sign as well. And the Visalia site looked really good. That looked really good as well. But knowing that I'm close to 55, I may be a tenant there one of these days. So thank you very much for the presentation, and I look forward to supporting this item.
All right, thank you to my colleagues, and thank you for the excellent presentation. This is much needed in our city. We're far behind, everybody is, and we're not as far behind as other cities, but we can continue to do more. So I appreciate this. Looking forward to the senior affordable housing project in Old Town, much needed. I'm not surprised of the high interest there, and looking forward to seeing the developer and the residents working together. And then for the Sheldon project, I sit on the SAC-RT board, and so transit-oriented developments are very important, not only to our board, but just overall, in general, of sort of that footprint that leads. So really looking forward to seeing that as well. So I think both high-quality projects, both needed, and thank you both of the developers for being here this evening as well. So with that, I will look for a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I hear some laughter over there. Excellent. Thank you. We will move on to our next item, 9.3.
And that's to receive information, provide direction regarding enforcement efforts against illegal fireworks.
All right, good evening, council and mayor and vice mayor. My name is Ryan Huber. I'm the senior code enforcement officer in the Code Enforcement Division. At the August 9th, 2023 City Council meeting, City Council requested staff bring back recommendations and efforts to deter the use of illegal fireworks. Staff recommends the City Council receive the following information and provide feedback and/or direction regarding enforcement of illegal fireworks use and possession. As is commonly known, illegal fireworks are considered a danger to the public because they can cause significant bodily harm and fires, and in some cases deaths. And as you can see here, the volume of calls for service continue to rise despite enforcement efforts. In 2022, there were 337 calls for service. In 2023, there were 413 calls for service. Of the 413 calls for service, 112 were for illegal fireworks use. Current enforcement efforts continue to involve confiscating illegal fireworks and issuing fines escalating in amounts of $100, $200, and $500. Staff compared other jurisdictions' enforcement practices to Elk Grove's. Currently, Sacramento County issues citations escalating from $1,000 to $5,000. And they have special fines of $10,000 for illegal fireworks use along the American River Parkway. Citations can be issued to the property owner or social host. And as you'll see, this is a common practice with jurisdictions that we compared. The city of Sacramento issues citations ranging from $1,000 to $25,000. They also have a property owner and social host component to their enforcement. The city of Rancho Cordova issues administrative fines of $1,000 per violation and up to 1 year in county jail. They also have a property owner and social host component. The city of Citrus Heights starts their fines at $750 and for the first violation, and the second and subsequent violations are at $1,000. And finally, the city of Stockton issues administrative fines beginning at $1,000 and escalating up to $3,000. And they also have a property owner and social host component. And based on the practices adopted by surrounding jurisdictions and those available to general law cities such as Elk Grove, staff is recommending the following. Recommendation 1 is to increase administrative citation fines consistent with the maximum allowed by state law for general law cities, which would be $1,000 per violation of the city's ordinance. This would require a code amendment to Elk Grove Municipal Code Section 17.06 to identify a violation as a misdemeanor, and the City Council will need to adopt a revised fine schedule. Staff recommends continuing with the current practice of progressive enforcement by escalating administrative fines. This would be $100 for the first violation, $200 for the second, $500 for the third, and $1,000 for the fourth and subsequent violations. The second recommendation is to amend the Elk Grove Municipal Code Chapter 17.06 to clarify and strengthen existing language to allow administrative citations and fines to be issued to the property owner or responsible person where illegal fireworks are set off or where a group is gathering and using illegal fireworks. Our third recommendation is to increase promotion of the illegal fireworks amnesty program. Currently, our residents are allowed to turn in illegal fireworks without consequence to the CSD Fire Department. And I just learned this afternoon that Elk Grove Police will also respond to pick up illegal fireworks as well and have them disposed of. And increasing promotion of this would look like or could be done with social media posts from the city, Elk Grove Police Department, and the fire department, posting the information in city newsletter, and holding an event prior to July 4th where illegal fireworks can be turned in with amnesty. So this concludes recommendations by staff. However, there is one other option for consideration, and this is to consider moving the city's Salute to Red, White, and Blue event to a date before the July 4th holiday. This would reallocate up to 30 police officers and 25 fire personnel for additional enforcement. Council considered this option in November of 2019, but the proposal was not adopted. And I am open for any questions regarding this report and the green sheet the council received. I also have Lieutenant Magdaleno from the Elk Grove Police Department here, along with Fire Chief Ray, to answer any questions related to police and fire issues.
All right, thank you for your presentation. Before we get into the Q&A, I'm going to open up the public comment opportunity. We have one speaker signed up, Mary Ann Simpson.
Okay. I'm strongly in favor of adopting all three of the staff recommendations as stated, to include also the other option of consideration mentioned. I don't feel the fines were enough previously, and some people looked at them as a joke. I want to thank city staff for a great job compiling the information presented and the others. I do want to add that I feel a number of illegal fireworks were not reported due to the fact the telephones were tied up and callers were unable to get through on the 4th of July, including dispatchers were unavailable because they were busy taking other calls, and that night they were kind of understaffed. I myself called in several times and could not get through and was routed to a recording, which was very limited. I'm in favor of moving the red, white, and blue event to another day besides the 4th. It would help with the resources needed for the actual 4th of July. As to the attendance of the red, white, and blue event, it appears that is basically at the maximum attendance now. I used to live across the street from the Elk Grove Park. Parking alone created a huge problem, especially for the residents near the park. The event goers took up all street parking in front of the houses and blocked driveways. Roads were difficult to maneuver due to parked cars along the roadways. And when the event concluded, residential streets were gridlocked for hours after the event. I don't agree that it will cause confusion or reduce attendance. The city still continues to grow with this event and attract more people each year. Okay, in conclusion, 1, please adopt all the recommendations and the consideration mentions as stated. 2, add additional dispatchers for illegal firework reporting on the 4th of July. And 3, move the red, white, and blue event to a different day. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'll turn it up here to my colleagues for questions and comments. We'll start to the left this time. Councilmember Swim.
Thank you, Mayor. Also, thank you, Mr. Burke, for your presentation. I have a question regarding, or Huber. Why did I say Burke? I have no idea. I'm so sorry. I intuitively, the smaller fines that we currently have didn't deter anybody. But what surprises me is the County of Sacramento and City of Sacramento had much steeper fines, and they still had a lot of problems. Can you speak to that? Did you interview them and see, was it an enforcement resource challenge, or is it simply fines still aren't a deterrent?
I did not speak with them about that matter. I can certainly come back to staff with more information regarding them. The information I received was as this. I took over this project because we were lacking a manager, and I don't have that. I don't know what information they have as far as if it's a deterrence for them for those types of fireworks. I can say that I have spoken with I reached out to the city of Folsom. I know we didn't give them as a sample here, but I did see if they had any kind of a reduction, and they responded to me and said it was negligible. There wasn't much of a reduction with their enforcement. I also asked them about relocating. They don't have an event always on the 4th of July. If there was any difference of relocating rescheduling the Red, White, and Blue festival. If we were to do that, they would. They said in their jurisdiction, it doesn't make much difference as far as the use of illegal fireworks on their end as well.
I think Pierre has a comment.
I wanted to answer the question in relation to the city of Sacramento. The fire marshal there is Jason Lee. He's an Elk Grove resident. Hi, Jason, if you're watching. They did, and I don't want to, the numbers aren't exact, they did around $100,000 in fines through the 4 days through the 4th of July. There's a portion of those that are being appealed and were appealed, but I believe they collected somewhere in the $80,000 range in enforcement fees after all the appeals. The effect, there's not a noticeable downturn in the use of fireworks. What there is a noticeable uptick in the fees, the funds available to enforce illegal fireworks. And so there's some literature out there, and I believe the council received a letter from one of the individuals related with TNT fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of the fireworks that we deal with come in from out of state.
Right.
Until we were able to really stem that flow, this is a very difficult task to say that we will make a dent in that will slow down the use. It's really the ability for us to properly enforce. As you're aware, I know that I've seen a lot of you out on the 4th of July on ride-alongs and others. It is a very busy night for law and fire. We are going from fire. There are EMS calls that are related. We are doing the Red, White, and Blue celebration. It's a very busy night. We're all over the place investigating fires and other things. And so the staff report before you would give us the ability to implement those fines, collect that money, hopefully then increase enforcement. As we're doing right now, I can tell you anecdotally, I've had folks that are very happy to pay the fine. It's part of their 4th of July celebration.
Wow.
They're not really worried about it. They've spent thousands of dollars on illegal fireworks. Last year, we took a couple 100 pounds of illegal fireworks off. Did you see that? Yeah, I had one in my trunk that weighed about 60 pounds.
Wow.
It was about 30 inches by 30 inches. And so it's just part of their celebration to pay the fine, and they're not too terribly concerned with it. We do support and recommend. We will be following through with a similar presentation to our board behind this, and so there are certainly options.
Yeah, appreciate that. And so along those lines, is there a fine, or what fine do you think where the perpetrator would or offender would care?
Most of the folks that I've dealt with when we've gotten there, when they find out it's $1,000, we've really ruined their. I come from a different jurisdiction. This fee was in place in 2012, so it did implement that for about 8 years prior to my arrival in this jurisdiction. We would ruin their 4th of July night. You would get an appeal, and really their appeal was, please don't fine me that amount of money. And then ultimately we would not see them again. I did not have a single repeat offender in the 8 years that we had it in a previous jurisdiction, because it's something that is very difficult to justify. I don't think a lot of folks know. We do the best we can for outreach. Those people that are brought in fireworks are going to do it anyways, and then they find out that they've been fined. And then we've also been able to fine per device, and so some of these fines have reached tens and $20,000 in other jurisdictions.
Okay.
That's where you make the impact.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Suen, just to add to that, I know the city of Sacramento is a charter city, so they can set those fines. They have a little more leeway on doing that as the general law city. Right. So we're capped at 1,000. One option could be we just start at 1,000.
Yeah.
But Sacramento County, I don't know where their fine amounts came from, if there's within state law or not.
I definitely like starting at 1,000, but are we also allowed to do like per device, or is it a total 1,000?
So each device is a violation of the administrative once the ordinance is adopted, each individual violation can be fined. It's up to the council and really the staff on how that is implemented. You could find somebody that may have 80 fireworks on them. That would not be uncommon, and that fine would be significant. So there may be some cap there that could be discussed, but you certainly can, depending on how the ordinance is written, write in a way where you can fine per device.
Okay.
That's done in quite a few cities in California and has been defended.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I'll.
And Councilmember Swanson, I can attest, a violation is considered possession of an illegal firework or use of an illegal firework. So we do treat them as if you have 4, you're going to be cited for 4 individual violations. So that would increase the fine significantly when that happens. That I can certainly say would be how we would recommend continuing moving forward as well.
I see. Okay, thank you very much. I'd very much support staff's recommendation as well. Mayor?
Darren's point, so it's 1,000 per incident, right, per violation is the maximum. It's not total, so on 4th of July, one person has 6.
I believe that's consistent with state law. We're proposing 100, 200, 500, 1,000, but that would be, if there were 4 fireworks caught, we do 200, that's 300 plus 500 is 800 plus 1,000 is 1,800, would be that fine.
Yeah, but
If we wanted to start at, say, 1,000 or 500,
yeah, I mean, I think we
because
start
I don't see a
something higher.
deterrent personally.
Agreed.
It's,
Yeah.
$100, like really, that's.
Yeah, that's why I would rather start at 1,000 and maybe you only do it one time, at your discretion, our discretion to do one time, or you
It
could
needs
choose
so
to
if
do
it's
per
not a
device.
deterrent, it's not a deterrent, right? So that's why the progressive of 100, 200, to me, it's not a deterrent. If you're spending these kinds of dollars, it's not a deterrent, other than when you described, if it really pinches, then
Yeah.
you see the deterrence.
Yeah, so if it's 1,000,
Yeah.
right, then you're starting at 1,000 instead,
Yeah.
and then now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,000
Yeah.
for 5
So
devices.
there's no limit there in terms of the accrual. Just one violation can only be a maximum of 1,000.
If that's what the council wants to propose, the chief did say you could put a cap on, and, if somebody has 80 fireworks,
Yeah,
it could
we
be
could,
80,000.
yeah, we get up to 10,000 or something, yeah, that's fine, but I do agree, I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, it needs to be steeper.
Yeah, I think it needs to be steeper too, but I'd love to hear from my colleagues.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor?
If I could weigh in one more time, I apologize.
Yes, please.
At a certain point, it does become criminal. Once you have a certain number of pounds, it becomes criminal possession, and we would actually take them through the criminal process too. So there is the ability, is it 50 pounds? I don't remember. 25 pounds. So once it's 25 pounds, it's the criminal process. And so you can run those concurrently. You can do both. You could go $80,000 in fines and the criminal process, but at the 25-pound mark, we're going to transition it into the criminal prosecution as well.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
So looking at the information and what's been going on, I do appreciate the thought process of going through these proposals. And I definitely appreciate your digging in on this, Mr. Huber, because this has been an issue that has been percolating for several years. And I know that Officer Magdalena and Chief Ray have been engaged in this for quite some time. Chief Ray and I have been talking about this since the Cosuma CSD days. And it's quite an issue because the question is, as we encourage vigilance of our neighbors, it also comes down to how can we identify the individuals when they do shoot off the fireworks, and then how many of those folks are involved, how many of them are neighbors, how do we enforce it? It doesn't unravel, but it becomes more intricate. But the key thing is that we have something that we have a deterrent, because as we go, because truthfully, it's not even 4 days. It starts on June 25th, when people have their last year's supply. And then on June 27th, when the stands go up, but people are pretty much figuring that's the time of the year grab our goodies. And so people will go to either, whether it be State Line, Reno, Las Vegas, or Henderson, and make their purchases, come back. Some even go to Oregon in a U-Haul and come back. And so it's just, we know because of interstate commerce laws, it's difficult for us to arrest the people who are selling. But if we can have a strong, sturdy infraction system in place, I think that'll deter people, because it is that one time of the year where people will want to do for their kids and want to do for themselves and have a great time, but at the same time, what comes up must come down. And when those fireworks come down, they cause spot fires, they cause house fires, and as much as at the time, the tiered fine system that we had in place, 100, 200, 500, was good. It was a good approach, but seeing how people will treat it like it's just it's a little thing, we need to put a little bit more seriousness into it, and that's why I think my colleagues are looking at the idea and the prospects of starting at 1,000, and I like and looking at each device that you have on site and making that part of the offense, and knowing that the poundage, the threshold is $25. Maybe it makes people think twice a little bit, because everyone wants to have a good time on the 4th of July, but no one wants to have their house burned down. And that's just the bottom line. So I'm very favorable of the suggestion of doing the $1,000 per violation, but to also add some extra fines in there for how many devices you have. Because I think that is the deterrent. If you're going to hurt someone, you got to hurt them in the wallet, and hopefully that will deter them from doing illegal fireworks on those days. We have Perfectly Safe and Sane. We have charities that do the Safe and Sane. They can do those and have just as great a time. So that's where I'm coming from on this.
Thank you. Councilmember Spies.
Thank you, Mr. Huber. I appreciate the presentation. I appreciate the thought that's gone into it. I would be in favor of even going more restrictive in the fine. And I haven't heard from council saying that that's too restrictive or unconstitutional in any form or fashion. So I assume that's certainly legal to do. So I'm supportive of the notion of increasing it to 1,000 per device. The difficult part becomes if we don't enforce it, then that $1,000 doesn't become a deterrent. And so to that, the recommendation relative to moving the red, white, and blue, I haven't heard from Ms. Kristen back there that would be something that I would assume she wouldn't have let something go to the slides that she couldn't move or support. But I would be interested in moving it, if for no other reason than to provide a little bit of relief or to spread the resources a bit, to not put such a demand on police and fire, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the most labor-intensive day of the year is the 4th of July. And if for no better reason, if we can move that to make that better, I would certainly support that. When I was talking about it with a friend, they said, well, the only challenge would be that now you would have folks who go, oh, that's cool. I'll go to the park on the 3rd, and then I'll do my illegal bang on the 4th, right? So it's possible to have some odd incentive there, but I'd be willing to think about that because again, it's extremely labor intensive, and if we increase the fines, but we can't kick up the enforcement, then it means nothing. So. Anyway, that's where I'm at with it. I'm willing to, definitely want to go to the $1,000 a device, and I'd be willing to consider moving it so long as that works out, moving the red, white, and blue.
Councilmember Robles.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm in support of increasing the fine to $1,000. I do, however, would want to have a conversation over moving the red, white, and blue. It is on the 4th of July holiday, and I think that that's something that we rally as a community and as a city and as a nation. So just going to leave that at that.
Yes, I would agree with Councilmember Robles' sentiments. I think, moving something so important as the salute to red, white, and blue, is honoring our independence and what that means for not only the city, but for the country. It's on the 4th of July. And so I would hate to punish an entire city over the bad acts of 10, 20 people. So I'm hoping that the $1,000 deterrence, and we haven't talked about sort of the back end of maybe what the maximum, maybe we don't define it, maybe we need to. I'm seeing nods. Okay.
My suggestion is not to put a maximum on it.
No.
The enforcement officers do have discretion on their citation authority, they have prosecutorial discretion on that. So, for example, if there are, just use a number, if there's 20 violations, the enforcement officer doesn't necessarily have to write a citation for 20,000. They have discretion on that, and I'd suggest you just leave that discretion in their hands.
Yeah, I like that. I've been out there on the 4th of July, so I've seen what this looks like. And I think a number of us have seen the harm. But I'm hoping that perhaps with this additional fine that starts at $1,000, $100 is nothing, neither is a couple of hundred. But $1,000 is pretty steep, and it's per violation. So,
And Mayor,
to the extent that we can use technology, I know that we've been using drones and other things, but there's ways to offset where we don't have human beings on site. So I would be interested in looking at that, of how we can use that even more enhanced, if possible, to sort of be the eyes and ears out there in the community. You had something else?
Yeah, Mayor, I just, well, first of all, I think that we use our drones now, but I agree with you that I'm not supportive of moving red, white, and blue either. Because once 4th of July is done, then why? It's hard to celebrate after that. I mean, I guess you can move it earlier, but I just think it's a special place and time for that celebration. So
I know we use drones, but if we need more, what do we need? So I'd love to hear more about that, or however you want to incorporate that. But if it means more investment on the technology side to offset that we don't have access to all of the officers because of the celebration at the park, then I would be willing to see what that looks like. But I think let's start with that $1,000 penalty, most importantly.
And Mayor, I can attest, as being boots on the ground out there on 4th of July, drone usage is extremely successful for us. They're able to capture images, video, photographs. We're able to determine what house it's coming from, instead of we turn the corner and suddenly everybody stops doing what they're doing. The drones were extremely successful for us, and in the past few years we've gone out with two separate drone teams.
Excellent. So I think that's easier to expand on that than moving an entire festival. Let's use technology to be our eyes and ears more where we can, and let's punish them in the pocketbook, and maybe that will be the deterrence. And then when we see this presentation next year, if any modifications need to occur, we can visit those then. So I think, do you have some general direction that you're hearing?
Understood. Thank you.
Anything legal that I need to disclaim? All right, we're good. Attorney says we're good.
And I think if state law does increase the fine, we can always come back with the resolution, because the resolution will set the fine amount as opposed to having it hard coded in our.
Can we say what the maximum allowed by state, and therefore if it adjusts, we don't have to revisit it, it just adjusts?
That's what we'll do in the code, and then just for housekeeping, have a resolution that sets that fine.
Okay, very good.
And for clarification, recommendation 2, if we want to move forward with that as well, as far as clarifying and strengthening our existing language for citing property owners and responsible persons. Okay. And I'm assuming recommendation 3 would also be in support?
Yes, that was all good.
Okay.
Moving the event was not.
Thank you for the direction.
All right, very good. All right, thank you so much. So with that, we will move on to our next item, please.
That'll be item 9.4, to receive a presentation regarding the creation of a new community education program to be known as Elk Grove 101, a great way to get to know your city.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Crystal Love-Lazard. I am your Community Engagement and Government Relations Manager. So I'm very excited. This is going to be quick, but very excited to introduce a new program here in Elk Grove. We're calling it Elk Grove 101. It is what that means. It's an education campaign to find out what makes our city so great. So the purpose of this new program is to increase knowledge of our increase resident knowledge of local government, to really promote civic education, to create future community leaders. This is supposed to be very empowering, very informative, and really build relationships. This program is designed to broaden the group of people that we're working with and really empower more residents to really lead as citizen leaders here in our city. So this is open. It's currently underway. We're accepting applications. The deadline to apply is March 1st. I checked before this meeting. We have over 30 people who have already applied, but there's still time, and so we're really excited to see the level of interest here. So who are we looking to get in this new program? This is open to all residents and business owners here in Elk Grove, as long as you're 18 years and over. We're limiting this first inaugural cohort to 30 people just for manageability and scale, but we're planning to do this every year, and we would love to increase that number over time if it makes sense. And that we are striving to select 30 people that are both geographically diverse and then also just really symbolize the diversity, represent the diversity here in Elk Grove. So we'll be trying to get lots of different kinds of perspectives and voices here in the room. So the topics are going to be very familiar to you all. We're going to start with an orientation. We're going to do a city tour to sort of look at a lot of our high priority projects that we are going to be focusing on. We're going to touch on public safety, police services, animal services, addressing housing needs, land use planning, public works, code enforcement, recycling, and of course end with a celebration. So this is designed, it's similar to a lot of similar programs in other cities where it's really meant to educate folks about local government and how we operate. So what can participants expect? They can expect to, with us, explore the foundations of local government, what this is and isn't. A lot of our civic education focuses at the federal level, but not a lot about local government. So a lot of folks are unaware of how this all works. We would like folks to learn how to navigate processes, city processes, understand how and why things happen, connect with city leaders. I'm really excited to see a lot of us. We're going to have a lot of department staff lead these educational sessions, so they'll have that opportunity to meet new residents and connect with them on whatever passion they're sharing. And then really this interactive learning. We really want the sessions to not be talking at people, but I'm going to be challenging all of our departments to create some sort of interactive activity, gamify, make this fun, make it easy, really lower that fear barrier to participation so folks walk away feeling very empowered and excited to engage however they want to engage in local government moving forward. So that's it. I promised it was quick, but do you have any questions for me?
Excellent. At this time, I'll open up the public comment opportunity. Nobody has signed up. I'll close the public comment opportunity. For outreach on this, how are we actively seeking interest in applications?
I'll invite Kristen to add to this, but we have put things out through the city newsletter. We have a page up on our website. We have sent things through the listserv where people have prior signed up to receive notifications about different community opportunities. We have mentioned it at several community events. We have asked some community partners to share it amongst the audiences they serve, but I'm here today to extend that ask to you all as well. That's the timing of this. I would love you to share this opportunity with anyone you know would be interested in understanding local government or building networks or just, getting more involved.
So I would also encourage reaching out to all of our ethnic groups, the various ethnic chambers, so that it's not the same people who receive the information all the time. But but that's where the burden's on us. We have to go out and seek it from them. I will certainly be sharing this as well, and I'm sure all of us. But to that end, in terms of just, when it comes to community outreach, community engagement, sometimes it's that extra step. It's not just our newsletters, our website, our socials.
Right.
We have to purposely invite that engagement and stakeholder input.
I couldn't agree more. And I was pleasantly surprised. One of the questions in the application is, like, how familiar are you with local government? Anywhere from completely new to attend a meeting or two a year to, like, I'm on a commission or a committee and I already come to lots of stuff. And we overwhelmingly, most people who have applied are completely new to local government, have never been to anything. And when I look at the list of names, I only recognize one.
Yeah.
So
I would also, like, a great source also is everyone that's applied in the last 2 years for the D&I Commission. There's a great pool of people that have an interest in serving. They may not be aware of this, but, and you can, we have their information.
Yep, we do.
So we can get some feedback there as well, so that it's one more outlet for them to serve if they don't get on this D&I Commission soon.
Yes. And we have talked about if we get more, like, overwhelming applications, giving people preference in the next cycle if they don't get selected for this cycle.
No, I think that this is a great program. Thank you. Yep. I'll start to the right. Councilmember Robles, any questions?
Thank you for the presentation. I look forward to seeing our community involved in this. You asked one question, how involved or do you know about local government? Not many folks know about that. They can't name the county supervisor nor the state assembly member, so hopefully they get familiarized for what we do here and how government works. So thank you for this.
Yeah.
Councilmember Spies?
Great idea, much needed. Perhaps a later iteration is, very short, small videos that kind of give the flavor of what each of those is talking about, so they can be put on the web and reach more information or reach more people. Thank you.
Councilmember Suen?
Yeah, also a great idea. One thing I would ask is, as you spent a lot of time, I think a lot of us did, explaining to people why we're different from the city of Sacramento. And I think when you go through this, you'll be educating everybody on Elk Grove, which is fantastic too. But maybe just remind them that other cities are different, so they understand, just what they learn here is specific to our city. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
It promotes transparency and openness of government. And for folks who live here in Elk Grove, it gives them the ability to learn the differences in how the city, Cosuma CSD, Elk Grove Unified School District, and Elk Grove Water District work together to make the city work for all of us. And so that's the core part that I really like about Elk Grove 101. Looking forward to seeing this being launched. So thank you.
Thank you. And I would, just going off the cuff, I would love to have you guys, not all 5 at once, but coming when your schedules allow to come observe, say hi, really thank the residents and business owners for participating. This is
You're not suggesting that we might need to go to some of those
I
classes,
am not suggesting that, Councilmember Spies. I am merely suggesting that this is, it's a less formal opportunity to have a conversation than this. So
No, I think it's a great opportunity, so thank you for leading the effort.
yeah, thank you.
Excellent. All right, so our last is just comments, reports, future agenda items. Anything, Councilmember Suen?
Just SACOG tomorrow. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Sacramento Public Library Budget Audit Committee meets tomorrow at 1, and then we have our general meeting at 3. And that all takes place tomorrow.
Thank you. Councilmember Spies?
I've got nothing, so I can pass on.
I had regional send today, but nothing to report.
All right, thank you. I'll waive my report. For adjournment, I know that they're, put on the news, and there was horrible tragedy today in Kansas City with shooting and some, children being shot. I think there's already been a couple of fatalities, so, I want to adjourn in the memory of just everyone that's not only that was harmed by today's shooting, but just senseless violence everywhere in the world. Thank you.
And I also want to make an adjournment in the memory of Diane Butts.
Yes.
Many of us know her as Diane Hanford Butts. Great friend to myself, and definitely friends with her son, Preston III. So if any of you are familiar with Hanford Ready Mix, Hanford Sand and Gravel, the boss lady, as I affectionately call her. Yeah, she passed away on January 22nd. They held her memorial on last Friday with her celebration of life. And so she is definitely a dear, sweet person that I've come to know. Very, very blunt, very straightforward, but a heart of gold. And she will be missed.
Thank you.
And Mayor, just before I want to also end on the 3 service members that passed away from the Army this month. Sergeant William Rivers, 46, Specialist Kennedy Sanders, and Specialist Brianna Manaf, 24 and 23. These were Army reservists who passed away. So.
Thank you. May their memories be a blessing to all that knew them and loved them. Thank you. We are adjourned at 8:25.